Hey everybody, it's Andy here at Game Montolio, and we're back for another Vintage League, and we're playing some CradleVine today. So move a little bit closer to the Eternal Weekend. I'm strongly considering this deck as a reasonable choice, and I'm going to take it out for a spin today. We did pull a top 8 off yesterday in the Vintage Challenge with a very similar list. The only change I have made is I've added an extra Besaju because there's a lot of Oath of Druids running around, and just an extra out to Sinks the Steel Wind for the Become Immense, which I was having a little bit of fun playing with. As you can see, this list, I essentially same as CradleVine over the last couple of years, with the exception of, excuse me, removal of Once Upon a Time. And I do miss Once Upon a Time, but I think it's a reasonable cut right now. A lot of Fluster Storms running around in the metagame, and it's just an extra card that can get countered. And I don't really think this deck needs it for consistency, and I'm quite comfortable as I move closer towards playing this deck. I have also really liked the full Bloodghast Hogak package. I've been on Bloodghast for probably the last 6 months, anywhere from 2 to 3 I run, and I have not really run Hogak, but maybe about a month and a half ago, a player basically ran the gauntlet in a Vintage Challenge, went 9-0 with Hogak, and I think they had 3 or 4 Bloodghasts in their list, and I've kind of moved back onto Hogak, and of course I've been back and forth on Hogak many times. I do like Hogak, but I think my strategy has always been to throw people off the trail. They sign in all the ley lines against me, and I sideboard these things out, or I don't have them in my list in general, and it's kind of like they're taking an automatic mulligan. And that's exactly what I do here. I sideboard this package out typically, depending on what I'm playing, and sideboard in the appropriate cards as needed. And it seems to work pretty well. Of course, for a polish list, I'd have to do a lot better sideboard mapping than I have. I'm just kind of throwing stuff in with my gut here. And I know yesterday when I played in the challenge, I can't remember what it was, but my mapping didn't work out perfect in one particular matchup. As is, I mean, you can't always have perfect sideboard mapping, but my point being is that this is not a fully thought through polished list. I also have moved on to Leyline of the Void, and I have real mixed feelings about this because the truth is that there are pros and cons to this card, and I typically don't like it in CradleVine. The reason being is that I just can't protect it, and I have no counter magic to protect Leyline of the Void, and that makes me not want it. But of course, having it come into play means it can't be countered like Surgical Extraction can be, which is the counterpart to this card. I had 3 or 4 surgicals in my list. So, and of course you can't cast this, which is a real stinker. It's just impossible. I mean, yes, if you find your one Black Lotus and you cast it, I mean, you're probably not winning that game anyways. But yeah, other than that, I think the cards don't need a whole lot of introduction. There is a lot of combo running around, and Migrate Trap is a card, I beg your pardon, excuse me, that can help with that. I realize it's a little bit heavy here, but we're going to take it in and see how we do. As always, guys, appreciate you hanging out. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to see you in round 1. Okay, here we go. Round 1. Yeah, it's an awkward hand. I'm going to keep it. This is one of these hands where the discard equity is so poor. I really don't want a Bazaar. If I was on the draw, I think this would have been a lot better because I'd have an idea of how I need to move here. I don't know what this opponent is playing. I'm going to play Wasteland and I'm going to pass. Now, the idea behind this line is that I can pitch Force of Vigor and get rid of Hex Drinker. Next turn, I can play either Yavimaya Cradle or Besaju and cast Collector Roof, depending on what we're playing against. And if my opponent wants to Wasteland my Wasteland, then I think that's fine. We'll see what we draw the following turn. So Patchwork Automaton is a pretty good one, and it cannot be wastelanded currently. I think this time I'm going to Bazaar and get my hollow one into play in Wasteland. So I do like Besiege You in this matchup. Collector Roof, not quite as much. And Hexdrinker could actually be quite good here. So I think I'm going to keep the Gaia's Cradle. But I can't really have it all. I do think Force of Vigor is going to be a player here as well. It's awkward. I don't know. Like, I like Collector Roof, but I think if they had Moxen, they would have just played the Moxen out. And not to intone that they didn't hold any in their hand, but the truth of the matter is that this is what we have to do for now. One of the downsides of CradleVine is it's got reasonably poor discard equity. You quite often need your Bazaar once to get going, and from there you don't really want to use it again because you like the cards in your hand. That's the idea behind it. Now, of course, that's not always the case, as you know. Hopefully that slows them down. Okay, so this is a situation I think that favors me. That was obviously a very poor draw. I'm going to play the Besiege You here, valuing my Cradle, and I'm going to play Hexdrinker and see if we can draw a green card for Force of Vigor if it becomes relevant at any point. Workshop, okay. Yeah, I was going to say that's probably going to be a Nettle Cyst. 2/2, so that can trade with my Hollow one, and I do think that's okay. Let's see if we can draw a green card here. I'm not sure whether I should be trading my Hexdrinker here, but my gut is probably not. But I certainly will trade my Hollow one for these two cards if they want to do it. Like, us having the Force of Vigor here is pretty strong. And hopefully we can fade a Wasteland. Okay, they do have Workshop here. Let's see what this spells for me. Mystic Forge, okay. I think I'm going to burn the Force of Vigor right now before they have an opportunity to play anything with that extra 2 mana. And we're just going to try and hopefully they don't do anything to make this a 4/4. That would be unfortunate if they could do it. No, they did. And probably putting it on Hexdrinker here, which is really good for them. Well, that being the case, we're in a bit of a tough spot. I don't really like my position from here if they got my Hexdrinker. Yeah. Well, we're not in a terrible position, but they do have 6 workshop mana here. Yeah, you see. I have to attack with both now. I mean, they kind of have to throw some blocks up here, but I anticipate their patchwork is gonna, they're just taking it. Wow. All right. Fair enough. I guess it makes sense. They're going to put themselves out of reach of the hollow one and the hex drinker. Yeah, now we're just losing pretty badly here. All right, nice comeback from my opponent there. That's a pretty risky attack. If I find a Besage you here, like it's pretty tough on them. Probably should have cast this last turn if I wasn't doing anything. Now because I didn't do that, I've got a hollow one in hand that I really can't do anything with. That was not great for me. Well, I'm going to cast the Black Lotus for Fear of Zero Resistance here. And we're going to have to sit back. I can't really attack in. I just have to hope that they don't have any more threats. Yeah, okay. Down to 1 card in hand. So this is going to be close. I have lots of good draws here. That is not it, unfortunately. Bazaar Baghdad sure would look good right now, wouldn't it, guys? Oh no. Yeah, that's pretty scary. We're going to need to find a Wasteland or a Strip Mine right now, or a Besaju. Yeah, we're losing very badly. If my opponent doesn't find a land for the Saga, we're okay. But, so we kind of need to fade this turn where they don't find one. Otherwise, we're going to lose to the Saga. We're not even drawing green cards in hopes of finding a Force of Vigor off the top. Okay, we got really lucky there. Like a downside of Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, like can you imagine I had one in play and I would play it too. Like would have turned these workshops on to turn the Saga on even further. Oh dear. All right, well, this is looking really bad. The good news, we're holding our opponent off here. The bad news, they're probably going to get a Pithing Needle for Bazaar, shutting that off further. Maybe a Soul Ring. They could get Sensi's Top too. I could see that. Oh, just a Mox. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty bad for me. Okay. Alrighty. Our best our best top deck is 100% Bazaar of Baghdad. No run. Okay. I'm wondering. I've noticed that someone top aided with my null rod aggro list that I 5-0'd with last week, and this could be the same thing that I'm playing against here. Problem with Vigor now for me is that I'm 100 miles away from actually doing it. So we'll see if my opponent attacks in. I might need to find some trades here. Like Hex Drinker itself now is not really that relevant. Yeah, look at my opponent just going really wide on me here. This 9-9 is no joke. 2 swings, it kills me. Hex Drinker again. Yeah, that's a good pick. I need to find a Gaia's Cradle right now. Or a Bazaar is my best draw for sure. Wow, they're just coming. 10-19, so I have to block one of the lodestones. Yep. This is a good attack. I would have just ate the Revoker. Yes, this is what we're gonna do. I have to block one. May as well trade with one of the lodestones. That turns on my Force of Vigor, I guess, perhaps. Okay, there's a Boseiju, but I can't actually do it. All right, good game. Just a really awkward game for us. Like I thought we were doing okay there for a little bit, but Dismember could be valuable here. Mental Misstep is of limited value here. Force of Vigors are looking good. Oof is solid. I do like Hogak in these type of games. I think Hex Drinker is probably not that good here other than its ability to pitch. Maybe do something like this. Yeah, this is pretty reasonable. Okay, what can we do here? It's an easy powder. See, this hand has some good discard equity. Force of Vigor. And we're going to be pretty happy with this hand. Let's see what we draw. Now, we do need to fade a Tabernacle, but an aggro shops deck not likely to have Tabernacle. If they do, it's quite a tax on them. Probably it's going to be Wasteland Pass, is my guess. Okay, well, maybe I was wrong. Let's see what they do here. If they Trinisphere us, we're going to be in good shape. Okay, Collector is looking okay here. 3-ball. I think we can play around 3-ball, to be perfectly honest with you, and keep the Force of Vigor, because we've got double Cradle too. Like if we get Wastelanded next turn, but we're going to be able to play Collector Roof here. I know you're wondering, wow, you've got 2 different Gaia's Cradles, and I typically like foils if I can get them, but I like old borders more. But these are like, the foils are like $50 online, and they're pretty hard to get as well. So this is just a very predictable sequence from my opponent here. So that Bloodghast is solid. I like the cards in my hand. I don't really want a Bazaar here. I think I get the Collector Roof going here. Yeah. And next turn we have the ability to force a vigor. We can hard cast it should we want to. See what my opponent does here. They will put this on Hex Drinker 100%. Which is too bad because I have a Hex Drinker, but this cannot be a priority. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I leave the 3 ball in play. Like, I don't know, I'm doing pretty good here. I hope it's not a mistake doing this, but I am gonna do it this way. Leave the 3 ball in play. And we could go get a Wasteland now. These are dead cards. So I do think I'll Bazaar now. I don't think I want to play the Cradle out to get the Hex Drinker. I think I wait for a Wasteland or I do it next turn and then start pumping it. And I'm not going to play the Cradle of Growth here. I mean, maybe I do. I guess I do. They're almost out of stuff here, so I'm going to play it out. My fear of that is that I'm giving them an extra mana if they get like a, yeah, well, so they can cast 2 things here. Wormcoil's obviously really rough on us, but they had it anyways if they do. Snake, okay. We do have answers to that. Not right now, but we could find some. So I can ultimate this right now. Probably should do it before a Revoker comes down. Not that I have any better plays here, but next turn I can Bazaar, get rid of the Mox Emerald, and we'll go ultimate here. So I think we made some good decisions with reference to what we wanted to get rid of here. My opponent, I don't think that Collector Roof is really doing a lot here. I think we just alpha with everything. The only, maybe I don't. Maybe I can do that next turn. Oh, this is just summoned. Okay, so we're not going to attack. Pretty nifty that I was able to cast that and pump that up through a Trinisphere. Wasteland, yeah. All right. They're probably going after my Gaia's Cradle here, would be my guess. Which is the right pick. But taking away Bazaar is also pretty reasonable too. Yep. So just in the nick of time. Hopefully they don't find anything too good here. Another snake, yeah, that's solid. This is definitely my list. I'm just wondering, do I get rid of the 3-ball? Kind of looking for a Hogak. could kill this. I don't think I have to do it this turn. Progenitus, and if my opponent attacks me, I mean, they're dead because I'm coming through with everything next turn. So we can sit until through their turn and see what they do. Like obviously Wormcoil's the one card that really worries me here. Okay, we got it. Good win for us. So a little bit of a reevaluation of Hex Drinker. I do think Hex Drinker is quite good in this matchup. It's one of the ways that I can get through and take over the game. I think we can cut Chalice here. Let's try something like this. Yeah, this is solid. Obviously has some vulnerabilities, but keep that one. Wasteland. Ooh, Pithing Needle. That's terrible. That's really bad for me. Usually my deck is not vulnerable to this line. Or I shouldn't say vulnerable, but it's not, that line is not the best sometimes against me. Probably should have done the basking wall there in case I draw Gaia's Cradle. Yeah, Lodestone. That stops my Root Walla. Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. I mean, Force of Vigor could be good here. We're going to need two things. We're going to need land and we're going to need Force of Vigor. Like a mana producer and Force of Vigor. So I think this game is very likely lost. Yeah, it's pretty big, isn't it? So very likely to be dead next turn. All right. Unfortunate. Yeah, there's the mistake. All right, guys, we didn't get there. Yeah, there's the Vigor. So had I done the line with the Root Walla instead of the Vengevine, I could have played the Cradle untapped and blew up their Pithing Needle and their Lodestone Golem, and I'd still be in this game. So that was a lesson in think your things through a little bit more, guys. That was just the obvious correct play to do, knowing that I had Gaia's Cradle as an out. But we didn't do it, and it cost us the game. And I think we could have won that game quite easily if we had gotten to use our Bazaar. All right. Okay, guys, here we are in round 2. We did not win the die rule on this one, but I think I'm going to keep it. I think my opponent is a combo player, and turn 1 Collector Roof could be pretty good. I always find from a statistical standpoint, this is one of the more interesting facets of CradleVine. And I do pay attention to the stats of non-bazaar openers, how often I win. And unfortunately, it's quite often play draw dependent when I keep these hands. But as to whether I win or whether I lose or not. So they could have a turn 1 Jewel here. So I'll play a Mox. I think I'm going to play the Strip Mine here. Because the Boseiju could have value if I draw a different type of land next turn. So let's hope this resolves. This will be really helpful if it does, shutting down what my opponent's doing. Okay. Really good. But back to the non-bazaar openers. I would say I'm probably 65% I do have this stuff written down, but this is just off the top of my head. Win when I'm on the play, and when I'm on the draw, I would say I'm probably around 45%. But my point is I'm very close to winning. 50% of my matches or better with non-bizarre openers, and that's pretty impressive for this deck, I would say. So the One Ring. We're going to take the workshop here. But one of the interesting things here for me is what if they have Urza's Saga? I think I actually take the Ancient Tomb based on that. The other option is I don't take it. I'm going to take the Ancient Tomb. No point in attacking. They just cast a One Ring. So will they cast a Jewel here? Doesn't look like they're ready to do that yet. Oh, that was a good draw. Do I want to pump my Hex Drinker up is the question. I don't think so. I think I'm going to cast another Collector Roof here. And then next turn, if we draw another land, we can pump the Hex Drinker up. Like if we draw Gaia's Cradle, that'd be fantastic. Really, any land except for the Yavimaya Cradle of Growth is good here. All right, nice win for us. Non-bizarre keep, we did win on the draw. So my opponent is playing combo. I do think it is worth keeping the Chalice of the Void in. Actually, I'm going to cut the Hogaaks here. One Bloodghast. I do like Bloodghast. Force of Vigor seems quite good. Maybe we cut a Hex Drinker. Let's try this. Yeah, I think this is reasonable. That one I don't think we can keep. It does have Force of Vigor and Mindbreak Trap of note. Could cast a Hex Drinker, but it doesn't have Collector Roof Wasteland. Call me crazy. Just call me crazy. Non-bizarre keep for science, right? Yep. 1, 2. So what we're going to do is we are going to attempt to kill their Mox and their Soul Ring here. I will get rid of the Basking Rootwalla. And I think we cast Hex Drinker here. Problem is if they play an Ancient Tomb, so I think I do Wasteland them. Okay. So now we're looking a little bit sparse, but we did lay a beating on our opponent here. All right, that was a good one. Bizarre. Wow, that was a great draw. Well, what can I say? Better lucky than good. So there's a lot of pressure coming my opponent's way, and if I find a Cradle that Besiege was on, also Force of Vigor, Wasteland, all very good here. And if my opponent does try and go off here with the 5 cards they will have in hand, of note, we have Mindbreak Trap. And that is possible that they're able to recoup from this. one ring, it looks like here. Okay, the one ring was a good one for sure. Would love to be able to slam an oof with that thing in play, but all right, we got a bazaar. Another vine. Now, unfortunately, we can't hit them right now, but the mind break trap does become more viable here. So I cannot attack. I can attack, but there's no point in doing it because the ring came into play. I have been playing Questing Beast a little bit when the One Ring was first released, and the One Ring kind of lulled off a little bit, and it seems to be back in a lot more lists right now. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, I think we have our opponent dead next turn. So, yeah, they could vault key me. That would be bad. Let's see what happens, whether they turn trap on or not. Yep, it's a lot of cards. I mean, they have to go. They're going to turn my trap on assuredly here. All right, they were unable to do it. So, yeah, that was kind of we kept another non-bazaar hand. Obviously, finding the bazaar is what really turned us on there. And I do admit that it was a little bit lucky, but two non-bazaar openers that ended up winning 2-0 against a very powerful deck in Jewel. So presumably this is Jewel that we're playing against. We didn't actually see the aforementioned card or Grim Monoliths, which are sure tell, but that's what it looked like to me. But nice win, guys. Okay, here we go. Round 3. We did not win the die roll. Okay. We're going to keep that hand. You can see. Now, the likelihood of us bringing our vine back is probably 50% or less. Turn 1. But we'll see what we draw. Sensei stop. Well, there's a difference between play draw because boy would it be getting the collector roof into play be nice. But hopefully we can get it going turn 2. We do have the Bloodghast to come back if we find a Gaia's Cradle. If I find a Wasteland, I will Wasteland the Saga. So our hand's a tiny bit awkward, but let's see what we can find. Okay, so we did find a Strip Mine, and I'm going to lead with that. I think getting the Saga off the table is just a really good start. And, you know, hopefully they don't have a Pithing Needle or something on top. And even if they do, it's not the end-all be-all. Second Saga. Okay, Force a Vigor 2 is a powerful play for us. This turn we're probably going to Bazaar unless we find a Wasteland. Okay, so there's the Cradle. So let's get busy going here. So we didn't actually get the Vine going this turn. I think I can probably get rid of Bazaar of Baghdad here. We're going to play the hollow one. Hopefully it resolves because I'm really wanting this Gaia's Cradle to shut off what my opponent's doing with the Collector Roof. Oh, they're just going looking for a Force of Will here. That would be unfortunate. But let's see. Even if they counter this, it's not the end-all be-all. We still have a chance of hitting a Root Wall the next turn, perhaps, or another hollow one. Okay, they did had Force of Will naturally. Okay. And we'll see what they have here off the top. I'm presuming they're gonna sit back on their Saga, which is, oh, interesting. What does that mean? What would they be looking for here? Okay. Like if they don't have another land here, it's solid for me. Or Mox. Any mana producer would be a huge win for me. Like, are they just going to replay their top here? I don't want to see Academy, that's for sure. All right. That is really lucky for me. Now they're going to try and shut my Bazaar off. So we need a Rootwalla, a Hollow one, Bloodghast. We have a lot of outs here to try and cast a creature off the top. Okay, this was even better because we're going to have double Vine coming. I honestly don't think we need another Bazaar here. This was really good, good for us. If I can get this Rootwalla to resolve. They do know I have a Collector Roof. I can't remember if I had the Cradle in hand, but now getting the Bloodghast into play allows us to cast the Oof and bring back 2 Vines. And they don't, well, I guess they can flip their Sensei's top for another Force of Will to stop the Oof. But then they're Hellbent. I guess they can also Misty, continue to search to stop the Collector Roof. Like, I think if the Oof resolves, it's over. Okay, they did find a Force of Will. Presumably. Yep. This is a lot of damage coming through, though. And they're dead next turn, so we'll see what they can scrounge together here. They're going to have a Sensei's top and probably get a Black Lotus, is my guess. They're going to make a construct. I'd be thrilled if they were making a construct here. But of course, that's not enough to stop what I'm doing. We're not deterministic from here. There are some things that my opponent could do. A Sphinx, the Tinker into Sphinx is not going to do it. Or Herd Cast Sphinx. Yogg-Will, not likely to do it, given what they currently have in their yard. Bolus a Citadel. Could be good, but they've only got 7 life to work with. Oh, Beseech the Mirror. Now that's a card that could get me. I wasn't thinking that this was a Beseech deck. But it certainly could get me here. Yogg-Will would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They could string another 6, 7. I don't think it's enough with the Yogg-Will. But I'm still learning the Beseech Mirror deck. I did lose to that in the top 8 yesterday. I beat it in the win and in spot and lost to the same player in the top 8. So let's see. That's 4 on the stack, I believe. Beseech, Yogg, Lotus, Ruby. That's 5. 1 card in hand. Oh no! Good top deck. I was just about to say, I really hope they didn't find a spell that mattered, like a land off the top would have been much better. I think they can get this up to 9 Storm if they string Beseeches together. Yeah, okay, so that might actually be 10 now. Because they can string multiple Beseeches together now with the extra artifact. So that was just a calamity of my opponent really getting lucky off the top. Like that, I think this was a very unlikely sequence of my opponent being able to pull that out. But let's see. That's 8. If they get another Beseech, that's 9, and then into Tendrils. Yeah, so it does work. But we'll see if my opponent puts that together. I'm not familiar with this name, so I don't know how good of a player they are. But there's a learning process for everybody that's playing these new decks. And despite this seems intuitive, yeah, so they just did another one. Yeah, and that's exactly enough for Tendrils. Yeah, really well done. Okay. Clutch, Force of Will. And Clutch hit on Brainstorm, both getting it into hand, and number 2, finding the card that they could cast in a Mana Bolt. And just literally a perfect sequence. I did not think it was going to be likely they could do it, but they did. And good game. Now, this is a match I'm actively trying to get better at learning. I don't know whether Endurance is better or Leyline of the Void, but I think I might try Leyline of the Void here this time. Take out the Gax. We definitely want Chalice. I think I'm going to take out my Hex Drinkers here. And we need to take out 3 more cards. Endurance is probably fine. Mental Misstep, good. Beseiju, I don't know if I need them all. 63, what else was I cutting yesterday? I guess it's probably just Bloodghasts, right? Bring in a couple of Endurances. Is there something else I can cut? Maybe a Blazing Rootwalla? Just hedging a little bit on the Endurance. And so, just to outline my thinking as to why I'm doing this, is as you can see, they won with Yawgmoth's Will. And that is their main win condition, to kill you with Tendrils of Agony. And yesterday, I did not bring in the Leyline of the Voids. I was only using Endurance. And it did win me a game where my win and in. There are pros and cons to both of these. So today I'm going to try a split. And I'm going to lean a little heavier on the Leyline and see. The pros and cons of these are quite simple. Leyline of the Void coming into play, you're down a card in your hand, and your opponent sees it's coming, and so they can find a way to play around the Leyline of the Void potentially. Of course, it could get bounced. I don't really know what each Besiege player has in their deck to combat something like this, but obviously it takes their main line away from their ability to win with Yogg-Will. And I do like that. The bad thing about it is if I don't have it in my opener, the card sucks. It's in my, it's just nothing but discard equity that's useless otherwise to the Bazaar. I can discard it, that's about it. The Endurance can be countered, and that's the negative of it. The positive is my opponent may not see it coming because it's in my hand, and they may go for that combo, and I can get them with their pants down, potentially. It does beat down as well, and it pitches. It's a green card that pitches to Force of Vigor. So there are pros and cons on both. I'm not sure which is better. This is a nice looking hand, so we're going to put the ley line of the void to the test right away. And of course, this can't be countered. That needs to be said as well, whereas endurance can be countered. I maybe have to write those pros and cons down to help me try and figure out which one is better. And of note, I'm still learning what the Beseech deck can actually do. So that obviously is going to help tell which one is truly better. But I do believe that some combination of them is correct. To have some graveyard hate against Yogg will kill. The true deficit of my deck is combo. And we shore that up significantly in the board. We have a nice little hand here. We definitely want a cradle of some sort. I am going to play with the Mox to be able to play around Tabernacle of Pendra Vale should they have that. I can't imagine they do, but they might. I hate to get rid of the discard equity of the Mox here because my true goal is to get a Collector Roof down on this kind of a dead card, and I am actively digging for it. I like both of these cards, they're very important, but if I get hit with a Tabernacle, it's really bad for me. So let's just see if they go Dark Ritual here. Wow. Then they might use Dark Ritual to Beseech. Now, if they have a Tinker here, it's really bad for me. What is this? Lorien Revealed. Cannot stop that. Nice turn one. Yep. Little disappointed to see the Lotus come down because my mental misstep loses quite a bit of function. We need a Collector for a Wasteland. Chalice feels a little bit late, to be perfectly honest with you. But maybe I just, like, Yogg Will was off. They've got all of this mana. I honestly feel like it literally is a Chalice on one. Problem is that shuts off my misstep. Is Chalice even worth keeping at this stage in the game? I'm going to go look for a Collector Roof here. Force of Vigor. Can't cast it. All right. I'm going Hellbent, guys. I'm going to try and kill my opponent here and see how well they can get through the Ley Line of the Void here. This may not resolve, but we got to try. Sadly, we cannot kill them next turn as we stand, but a little bit scary here. Yeah. And of note, you don't need a Yogg Will to tendrils your opponent out sometimes. You can just naturally do it. My opponent had 7 cards in hand at start of turn there after that Ancestral. Yeah, another hard cast Lorien Revealed. Wow, my opponent is going off. Well, I guess we need a Collector Roof for bust, eh? My opponent's just going to be able to steamroll me here. I already stormed 3 and they have full 7 again. Crazy. I guess the misstep and the chalice were better than the hollow one here. Yeah, they're going for it here. Necropotence, yeah, okay. I mean, I can put them down to 2 here, so the Necro's not that great. That I think is a good sign for me that they don't have the kill here, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just trying to build Storm. Okay. That is lethal on the table for me. Okay. Interesting. Okay, that does work. They are able to keep themselves alive here. They can go down 1 more. They're not even doing that. So what I can do here that can kill them is Bloodghast. If I can Bazaar upkeep, hit Bloodghast, and draw land, that will be enough to kill them. I mean, I'd love a Collector Roof. I would trade that line for a Collector Roof if I could find one. No Ghast. Also can hard cast a Benjamin for a kill. We did not get it. All right, well, if my opponent didn't draw a kill here, we're going to win. But we can't win this turn, sadly. Not going to play the land because I prefer to discard it next turn and try to draw a Collector Roof. Down to 2. No draw off the top for my opponent with Necro. Can't say I feel good from here, but yep. Presuming they put it on Beseju. Yeah, that's smart. I guess depending on what they're going to do here. Like a Sphinx of the Steel Wind, I can't beat it if they hard cast a Sphinx. And this feels like they might be hard casting a Sphinx here. That would be pretty amazing if they pulled that off. Yeah, it feels like that's what they're doing. They cracked their Lotus here. That's 100% what it is. Yep. Sphinx of the Steel Wind. So I think my opponent just beat me here with a hard cast Sphinx. They backdoored me. The ley line didn't quite get me there. They've played this quite well. I've never seen this name in Vintage. It could be somebody that's on a shadow account here, but um, that's a fairly high level play that they know to shut off Beseju. When there's a Bazaar of Baghdad and a Root Wall of sitting in play. But what I'm trying to say is that requires Vintage knowledge. It's not intuitive to just do that. But after all that praise, my opponent is having trouble tapping their mana here, so who's to say? Okay, there is a Sphinx of the Steel Wind. I unfortunately do not think I can beat that. Hmm. I guess if I get a Bloodghast, is that possible? Once again, we did have some number of outs here. So that would put them up to 8, and I can hit them for 4. But next turn, I can potentially win through this, depending on what they necro. I'm going to hide the, I guess the Yapamaya doesn't really matter. 2, 4, yeah, 5. I can still pump all 3 of these. Okay, can't do anything here. Like, I do think this Leyline of the Void was pretty good here. This turns the Necro on for them. Yeah. It's contingent on how far down the rabbit hole they go with the Necro here. I do need them to go a little bit deeper. And of course, have them not do anything else this turn, right? And it looks like they are casting something. Just a beseech here. I mean, they can string several of these together. Yeah, Beseech the Mirror, folks. A really good card. I haven't bought it on Magic Online yet. I mean, I'm not a combo player at heart, although I do love playing combo. Um, Normally in a competitive setting, you won't find me casting Beseech the Mirror, but I love playing with them, and I think it's the best way to get to understand decks is by playing them yourself. But once a card's newly released, it's just not worth buying it unless you're going to actively be playing it, and that's not the case for me with Beseech. And um, I think this thing was 50, 60 bucks a week ago. It's now down to 30. Wait another couple of weeks and it'll be down to 10, $15 is my guess. And then we'll buy them at that. Yeah, they're just stringing Beseeches here. Makes perfect sense. Hopefully they sacrifice that Pithing Needle. Yeah, they're just literally stringing Beseeches. They're just going to Tendrils me and put me out of range. Yeah, they know that there's a chance that I can go wide on them here. 3, 6, 9, 10. I can deal, which is still not enough. Yeah, even if they didn't Tendrils me here, I don't think it's enough. Yeah, very well played from my opponent this particular match. Made my deck look silly. And we almost had them game 1, but almost is not dead. 17 life, like there's just no way. I mean, yeah, the collector is magnificent, but it's too far behind. We'll spin. Yeah, and there's the Pasaju too. Good game. Okay, guys, here we are, round 4. Oh, it looks like we got a mirror match. Powder. I'll mulligan that one. All right, that's a really nice hand. Did we win the die roll? We didn't. We're going to keep this one, though. 1, 2, 3, yep. When you're in the mirror, it's always interesting how it shakes out. Really powerful hands can win, but get nullified by real powerful hands on the other end. They can be absolutely 100% grindy matchups. Uh, I don't find them overly skill intensive. Like they're my opponents down to 1 card, but I mean, really powerful start, right? Yeah, that was a nice draw. Now, hopefully we don't get wastelanded. We're looking for another Bazaar ourselves, or a Chaos Cradle would be solid. But we really want a second Bazaar. Because if we get wastelanded, that is a way we could lose this. Okay, strip mine is reasonable. I'm going to play the green root wall here because it can be pumped. But we have to plow right in here. Okay. Get in there, and they might just double trade here. And if they don't get a Bazaar, we have a fairly reasonable chance of bringing back the vines next turn. Just took it. Wow. Giving me a chance for Force of Vigor off the top. So they do have the Wasteland. Yep. And so if they don't have a second Bazaar, I feel like we're still winning this. Force of Vigor's best draw. I mean, I'm going with everything here. This doesn't really matter. If they want to chump block the root wall, that's totally fine. Splits number 4. They do need to produce another blocker for the vine next turn. Now, the goal here is for my opponent not to have another Bazaar, but even then, it's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to pull this off. Concealing the strip mine to second main there was important because my opponent maybe had some level of security that they had a chance untapping with the Bazaar. Okay, so I don't know if they're on the Hogak for Bloodghast version or not. Just gonna do a quick substitution just like this, and I think that's, I guess misstep is probably not ideal. I could probably take that out for a dismember. Collector roof, probably can cut those for dismembers and maybe bring in a couple ley lines. Let's try that. I don't like ley line of the void in this matchup, but it's got to be better than collector roof. So this is what I'm talking about. Like the sideboard mapping is not amazing. And this is a hand that could 100% lose. This is what I was talking about in game 1. You keep the Bazaar opener, but if your opponent has a hand like I had, I'm not likely to be able to catch up. Even if I'm mulled down to 4. Like if they have the big turn, I could be in trouble, right? Because I play my Bazaar, I try and get back into the game, and you know, they wasteland me, and you know I'm facing down Benjamin root wall and hollow one, just lose. Okay, so they held at 3. Let's see what they got. We just have to hope they don't have a big hand. Like if it's just a hollow one or something, I can deal with that. Or hopefully I can deal with that. There's no guarantees. Okay, so we are going to wasteland them here, and hopefully that's enough. Does my opponent have a second bazaar here? I'm not going to cast the Endurance here unless they did something like a Noxious Revival, because it gives me a chance to animate my Vine. Okay, so they did have a second bazaar, so this game is not over. All right, so I am going to play it out here. Okay, that's great. I do not have to use my Endurance here. And we got the value out of our bazaar that we needed. I still hope we don't lose it, but I cannot complain. Now they should churn here. They didn't. Okay, so I did speak to my opponent at the beginning of the game. They were asking a little bit about the deck. This is their first time playing Vintage, and there's a Bloodghast. Okay, so they found a hollow one and a Hogak. Yeah. Don't think I need to Endurance right now. I'm gonna spin, get my Ghast in the yard. Now I can double cast with the Cradle here. It's not going to happen this turn, as I'm going to wasteland them. Don't need to play Koi because they have 0 cards in hand. It just doesn't matter. This stage in the game, I'm just probably more interested in discarding the Mox to my Bazaar. Gonna get going now. It just doesn't matter. This is over. Hold those back in their deck for them. If they want to block the Benjamin, I'm thrilled here because I'll just bring it back. All right. All right, guys. Round 5. Nice keep. Didn't win the die roll, of course. What are we dealing with here? 3 ball? Yep. Cannot stop it. So probably losing this pretty badly. But a Gaia's Cradle will help here with the Bloodghast. Maybe not. Let's see. Wasteland's a little bit of a disappointment to see, but the Nettle Cyst. Chavez on 1. Yeah, wow, that was really good. I think this game's over. We're just going to get wastelanded. We have no land in our hand. Yeah, pretty dead here. I guess I have to hope our opponent wastelands us and doesn't do anything. I'm stuck under their own 3 ball. Even better. Okay. Oswald. Yep. So very high roll from them. That was a nice, good game for them. I can see maybe a few dismembers here, but that said, like, how much am I actually worried about Oswald? Like, I'm kind of like, let's just do our thing here. Okay, turn 1 Collector Roof is reasonable with Force of Vigor. I mean, I don't know how good this hand is, but and then we get to play the Gaia's Cradle, and who knows where we'll go from here. But I'm going to keep this. I don't necessarily think this is a winning hand, but if I can stymie my opponent enough with the Collector Roof, it can win. So let's see. We're putting the non-Bazaar opener to the test again against Workshops. Apparently my opponent has disconnected or is double queued because they're sure leaving me here a long time. All right, here they are. I'm gonna put the Ghast away. See how we do. Hopefully they're just all a fast mana hand. Workshop. Yeah, this is always the risk, right? They can go, whoa. All right. So 0, okay. They must have an academy. It was a really good draw. I can only imagine this is an academy, but I'm going to let them do their thing here. Oh, they just conceded. Okay. A little bit disappointed. My opponent conceded the match at 1-1. That would have been interesting to know if we could have won that one naturally. But yeah, anyways, guys, a mediocre league. We went 3-2. Lost a couple real close ones to Beseech the Mirror combo. Some good learning points, and I do like the way this deck is built right now. I think the card that I'm most skeptical about is Leyline of the Void. I'm not quite sure where it fits into my deck in the metagame right now versus Surgical Extraction, which is my personal preference and has been for quite some time. But as you know, metagame shift and certain card choices based on that. So as always, I appreciate you hanging out with me. It was fun, and we'll see you next time. Remember, hit that like